Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, in today's class, I want to discuss the difference between distance and displacement. What is distance? Distance is the total length of the path traveled or covered by a moving body. The total length of the path traveled or covered by a moving body. While displacement is a straight line distance between the initial point and the final point. I repeat, displacement is the distance, a straight line distance between the initial point and the final point. That is the starting point and the end point. The straight line distance between them is displacement. Now let us discuss these questions one after the other. I have an object. An object moves from point O to point E, from this point to the east. You know, we have 4 cardinal points where you have this, the north, the south, the east, and the west. A body can travel in any of these points. If this body travels from this point to point E, to this point, towards the east, and then move from that point to another point, what is the distance? Calculate the distance traveled and the displacement for the journey described below. This body traveled from here to here and from here to this point towards the same direction. Then what is the distance? How do we calculate the distance? The distance here is calculated by adding the distance. There is the distance for the first one. The distance from his place is going to be 100 plus 50. That's the distance, which is 150. So our distance is 150 meter, and the displacement is also 150, because I said the displacement is the distance, straight line distance from the initial point to the final point. So this one, the displacement is also 150 meters. So if a body is traveling along a straight line, both the distance and the displacement, they have the same value. Okay, now let us see the second one, a case where we have this object, case where we have this body. This body is traveling from this point to point A, and move from point A back to the initial point. Then this move from point O towards the east, then from the east towards the west. The same, and stopped at the same point. How do we calculate the displacement? The displacement, the distance here now is going to be, the distance in this case, the distance here is going to be 5 plus 5, which is 10 meters. That is the distance. The total journey, the total length of the path traveled by the body, that is going to be 5 plus 5. That will give you what? 10. But if it is displacement, displacement is going to be of this form. Displacement will be this one, 5 minus this one here, 5. So the displacement is 0. Do you get it? So the distance is the total length of the path traveled. The body moves from this point to this point, then return back to the same point. The total length of the journey made by that body is what? The distance. Now the displacement is this place minus this. For this one, how do we calculate this third one? Let us discuss the third one. The third one says that a body moves from this point towards the east to this point, and then return from east, move towards the west. But it didn't get to this point. Do you get it? It didn't get to the initial point, but you see the difference. This one moved from here to here and return to the initial point. This one moves from this point to this point and return to this point without reaching the initial point. How do we calculate the distance? The distance here is, the distance here is going to be this one, 120, plus this journey here, that is 70, which is going to give you 190 meters. That is the distance. Do you get it? Then what of the displacement? The displacement is they are in opposite direction. So once they are in opposite direction, the displacement, what do? You subtract. Do you get it? If it is in the same direction, you add the displacement. Now, in this case, you're going to have the displacement, the displacement for this one is going to be, you're going to have 120, sorry. Okay, yes, 120 minus 70. 120 minus 70, then you have 50. That is the displacement. You get it? Now let us discuss number 4. Okay, let's see number 4. I hope we are getting it well. Let's see number 4. For number 4, this one, which is also the same thing as this. For number 4, I have a body moves from this point towards the north with distance of 200 meters and return to the same point with also 200 meters. What is the distance? The distance is going to be this one, 200 plus 200. That is the distance. So the distance there is going to be 200 plus 200. That is what? 400. So you have 400 what? Meter. That is the distance here. What of the displacement? The displacement is going to be, you know, it's in opposite now. So the displacement is going to be subtraction. That is, the displacement is going to be 200 minus 200. Okay? And that will give us what? 0. So the displacement here is 0, while the distance is what? 400 meters. Okay, that is on that case. Let us discuss the 5th one. That is the final one. The 5th one is this. You have a journey. A body moves from this point to this point towards the east and then moves towards the what? South. What is the distance? The distance is the total distance covered, the total length covered by the body. That means 3 kilometers plus 4 kilometers. That will give you the what? The distance. So the distance there is going to be 3 plus what? 4. And that is what? 7 kilometers. That is the distance. What of the displacement? I told you that the displacement is the straight line distance from the initial point to the final point. So if we decide to close here like this, a straight line, we form a right angle triangle. This right angle triangle, this place is the hypotenuse, and that is the displacement. This side is the displacement. The distance, the straight line distance from the initial point to the final what? Point. That is the displacement. How do we get it? We use Pythagoras theorem. Let us call here displacement D. So you're going to have D square will give us 3 square plus what? 4 square. And that is going to be 9 plus what? 9 plus 16. And that is going to be 25 for D square. So D will give us the square root of 25 is what? 5 kilometers. So the distance, the displacement is 5 kilometers, and the distance is what? The distance is 7 kilometers. So this is a solution to this problem. Mind you, remember that the distance is always a positive value. Why the displacement can be positive, it can be negative, it can still be what? 0. Do you get it? Distance must be a positive what? Value. So this is where we're going to stop for now. Thank you and remain blessed.